A historical insertion at the start of the movie depicts the capture and execution of Guy Fawkes, a conspirator in the Gunpowder Plot in 17th-century Britain. The story then jumps to an alternate dystopian not-too-distant future. In Britain, the fascist Norse Fire Party has gained control. The United States is embroiled in a brutal civil war and has lost its position as global power. There is no mention of any other nations. Norse Fire's authoritarian restrictions on British society are shackling. And the battle with the United States is only addressed in passing. Norse Fire campaigned on a platform of ending the deadly illness that was sweeping the nation. In the late afternoon of November 4, during a curfew, an unidentified individual going by the name V and sporting a Guy Fawkes mask saves British television network assistant Evie Hammond from Norse Fire security, referred to in the film as Fingers. V introduces himself to Evie as a musician and asks her to watch him play on the top of a structure near the Old Bailey, the main criminal court in London. Evie watches the Old Bailey bombing, complete with pyrotechnics and Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture, being broadcast over the city's public address system as the Big Ben clock strikes and November 5 arrives. The government claims that the attack was an emergency demolition, but V seizes control of the BTN TV Center studio and broadcasts his own footage, claiming that the government's claims are false and that he was the one who carried out the bombing. V urges the populace to rise up in opposition to the current administration and to descend upon Parliament on November 5 in order to give them a November 5 that will never be forgotten. The terrorist's speech is a masterpiece of oratory and, while being covert, it has a significant impact on the populace. The TV center is quickly taken over by government intelligence agents, but Evie, who also works there, decides on the spur of the moment to aid V in escaping in a dire circumstance. He leads her to the Gallery of Shadows, where he keeps things he's taken from the censorship office warehouse and lives. V wants that she remain with him through November 5 of the next year. Evie shares part of her experience with V and offers to assist her get out of the Gallery of Shadows. Later, with the aid of Evie disguised as a nymph, V makes the decision to break into the bedroom of Anthony Lilliman, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who engages in pedophilia. When Evie tries to tell the Archbishop about V's plot, he doesn't believe her and makes an attempt to rape her. Evie cautiously makes her way to her BTN supervisor, Gordon Dietrich, when V emerges. He divulges to Evie about his collection of prohibited art and literature as well as his underlying homosexuality in reaction to her openness. The Norse Fire Party has apparently banned any deviation from the norm. Following Gordon's scathing parody of the High Chancellor in his entertainment program against censorship, the security service enters Gordon's home and quickly takes him into custody. Evie tries to flee but is unsuccessful. She endures days of beatings, interrogations, and torture. Evie spends those days alone in a cage with a cement floor, only finding comfort in notes passed by Valerie, a prisoner from an adjacent cell who was imprisoned due to her sexual orientation. In the end, Evie is given the option to submit the necessary details about V and remain alive, or else she would be put to death. When she responds that she would rather die, she is then liberated. When Evie leaves her cell, she learns that V orchestrated her entire captivity and that Gordon has been killed. She also learns that she has been in the Shadow Gallery the entire time, for possession of the Quran. Evie first rejects V's justification for going to such extent and despises him for his misery in the fictitious jail. Then, though, she comes to the realization that her time spent in confinement actually helped her get over her phobia. V requests only one thing from Evie before she departs, a chance to see her before November 5. Evie concurs. Evie returns to the Gallery of Shadows on November 4 of the following year. Evie wants to take off V's mask during the dance, but he refuses, saying his face is just muscles. He then presents her a gift, but not before asking her to dance with him first. Evie is given the option to carry out the plan when V demonstrates the explosive-packed subway train that is supposed to blow up the Parliament building. The final surviving top brass of the totalitarian state, including Chancellor Sutler and Creedy. The primary devil of the revolution, who heads the party security service, are then targeted by V. Sutler is shot by Creedy, who has already come to the conclusion that Sutler is useless. V kills Creedy and the bodyguard soldiers in a quick battle, but he suffers serious injuries himself. Just before he passes away, V tells Evie that he loves her, and he passes away in her arms, a separate narrative. Following in V's footsteps all this time has been the Chief Inspector of the London Police. Scotland Yard is not mentioned. Eric Finch, who, while looking into a terrorist's antics, has been resolving much more serious crimes committed by the Northfire Party ever since they took control of the government. The inspector appears to be able to properly predict outcomes and infer the right information from coincidences, serendipity, but the Supreme Chancellor is unable to interpret the details of his clues. Furthermore, Finch, a member of the party for 27 years, is constantly given the impression that he is being watched and could easily turn out to be an enemy of the people by the severe machinery of state terror. The movie also explains V's connection to the viral treatment and his motivations for exacting revenge on the party representatives. When Evie decides to bring a bomb-laden train to Parliament, an inspector follows her but is unable to stop the train from departing. V was right when he said that the crowd would converge to see the destruction of the Parliament. The armed troops protecting the gates to Parliament let the advancing powerful avalanche of protesters to pass undisturbed, since the absent Supreme Chancellor and the head of the security service no longer issue instructions. The Parliament building is ceremonially demolished as a reminder of the oppressive past. And the protesters take off the Guy Fawkes masks that were distributed by wagons across the nation. One can see among the demonstrators a number of people who have suffered in the film, including Gordon Dietrich. The nation is starting from scratch.